It started like while we were still students. We were studying traditional industrial design. And at a certain moment we got a bit tired of like just, producing more products.
We were only like making fancy stuff, things we don't really need. Using expensive materials that doesn't last forever. How can we make products that has a value but also like make a difference?
We found out about this book, Design for the Other 90%. As traditional designers, we only make products for the 10% of the world that can afford design. What about the other 90%? They also need well-designed products and services.
Together we found Superlocal back in 2012 as a social design studio.
We'd find solutions for global and local issues through design.
Proost. Cheers.
Ja, ik ben nog met de auto bezig. Waste is such a big issue around the world. We just keep on consuming more and more. There's also increased amounts of waste. I think we have a very well set up system in the Netherlands. It's very easy to discard waste.
I think we are especially very good in hiding our waste.
As soon as you discard your waste into the bin, you don't see it anymore. So we're not confronted with the waste all the time. That's why we might think like it ends up at the right place. In the places where we worked, where they don't have a waste management system, waste just ends up in piles in front of your door. But also we see that people treat waste different because waste there has a value. Some of the communities there are looking for ways to earn money, and then the waste is a perfect outcome.
There's a kind of beauty in it that people still see the value of broken products.
The first project we got, there was a teacher at the design academy, and he said for this project we need some designers who wants to go to Nepal. So Pim and I were like, oh, pick us. There was a project for a pharmaceutical company, and they asked us if we could do research on how in the rural areas people are using medicine. Because in Nepal you won't get a description. When a doctor would give them the medicine, when they would return home, they wouldn't know how to use it anymore. With all the insights that we gathered from the research, we created these different types of envelopes where a doctor can easily cross on the icons how to use the medicine. That was a great experience. We were away from the four walls of school and we were out in the field, like talking to people, getting insights and really developing something that's actually based on the needs of people. I think the beauty from the projects that we do, it's all about co-creation.
It's almost impossible to have the voice of local people in the project if you are here behind your computer.
So we need to be in the field and we need to work directly with the community to solve issues together. We would never go to a country ourselves to solve a problem. There always needs to be a need. So we always need to be invited by a local partner or a local community, because then we know the need is there.
We always supply them with all the blueprints, all the information, and also by involving them from the beginning in the project, it's easier for them to continue on the project later on.
Hello! How are you?
After the project in Nepal, we were able to go to Malawi.
We got in touch with an orthopedic hospital. They say like, hey, could you turn our parking space into a playground? All the products that we made for the playground equipment are based on materials that we find from the scrapyard. So the first thing that we did, we bought an old ambulance from the scrapyard. And then I remember the faces of the guys that we were working with in the workshop when we put the car like in front of the workshop. They were so surprised, like, how are we going to manage to turn this into into a nice playground? And then we just work day and night. So we use tires from cars for things that you could run on. For the miracle around, we use an old car axle.
So this new collection would have a lot of positive impact and a lot of happiness for the children in Malawi. The cook and the nurse were as happy as the kids, playing alongside all the children, which was really funny to see.
And it became so successful that they could hire us again, and they said hey, we are ready for a new collection of products. It's very common in Malawi when a person is sick that the whole family would drop by to visit them. And they would all sit on the side of the bed. But they were just of such a poor quality that they would just like break in the middle.
A lot of hospitals in Malawi are depending on donations often. As soon as something breaks, it's almost impossible to get them repaired.
So together with the local hospitals, we came up with the most 10 essential products to produce. From hospital beds to drip stands, products for the surgery room. We didn't make them from waste materials because the hospital has such a high quality standards. Also, we needed to import stainless steel because of hygienic reasons. You're not only solving the issues by providing hospitals with good equipment, which is better for the patients, while the products are being repaired and for such a high quality, we also reduce the amount of waste. We also stimulate the local economy and we create a lot of job opportunities. All the doctors and nurses were part of the design and the research part. So of course they felt very proud when they saw their own products now ending up in their hospital. And of course it doesn't only impact the doctors and nurses, but it's also better for the patients.
If you love watching Never Too Small, you can help us to keep making episodes and creating brand new content like our upcoming series Wonderful Waste. Every Never Too Small episode takes a lot of time to make, and Google Ads don't quite cover it. We need your support to keep making great new content all around the world. Every bit of support counts, and you'll get something back in every tier, starting with early access to ad-free episodes of Never Too Small, members-only extra content, and you can even get your photo on our wall. Join our community by clicking the join button to become one of our YouTube members and part of the NTS family.
Our most recent project took place in Nepal. Nepal, famous for Mount Everest, and attracts over 80,000 visitors every year that go to the Khumbu region. But a lot of visitors also means a lot of waste. Aluminum cans, bottles, organic waste in the past were left behind on the hiking trails. Luckily now there is a local waste company that collects the waste, but still the main problem was that all that waste will be burned in those areas. We were invited by Sagarmatha Next, and they asked if we could come up with a solution on how to get the waste down to Kathmandu for further recycling. So what we did, we developed a system which is called Carry Me Back. The local waste management company collect all the waste from the lodges, from the hotels, from the hiking trails. They separate the waste, and then the waste they put into the 1 kg Carry Me bags. We fill these bags with shredded PET bottle, but also we fill bags with aluminum and with plastic bottle caps. The bag will go down to a collection point, and at that collection station, tourists and locals are being asked if they can take 1 kilo of waste down to the local airport. Then off-season, the local airplanes, they fly the waste to Kathmandu for further recycling. Back in Kathmandu, we set up a special recycling workshop where we turn bottle caps into new products for tourists to buy. This is very common for tourists to take a stone from the Himalayas as a souvenir home, but now we make similar stones but made out of plastic. So when a tourist buy that, they have a perfect reminder from the adventure while ensuring that waste in Sagarmatha National Park is disposed of responsibly. And also we made scale models with the most iconic peaks. And this Himalaya model has all the iconic peaks from the Himalaya region. What is nice to know, on an average trek, when a tourist goes to base camp, they drink around 32 bottles of water. And this model exactly contains 32 bottle caps. So when a tourist buy this, they are not only financing the important work of Sagarmatha Next, the center, but they're also taking down the waste from the mountain that they actually produce there.
Nice.
The thick glass is also nice. It gives like a kind of
Yeah,
a different
like a
glow.
shadow.
Glass is 100% recyclable. You can recycle it almost endlessly. It doesn't lose quality, almost nothing. Zanzibar is a beautiful island near the coast of Tanzania. It has nice white beaches and therefore it attracts a lot of tourists from all over the world. These tourists like to have a drink, but as soon as the bottle is empty, nobody cares about the glass anymore.
Local population doesn't really drink because the biggest part of the population is Muslim.
And also this glass is especially transported and imported to the island for the tourists. On Zanzibar there's no recycling industries. Glass ends up in nature, in the streets and mostly in landfills.
We were asked by a local resort to address this issue. Together with 4 other design studios, we traveled to Zanzibar. We set up a small factory that collects the glass.
So the cool thing is we found a solution for the whole bottle. So we designed products that would be made out of different parts of the bottle using all the different elements.
And those products are being sold to tourists. So basically when they buy the product, they take their own shit from the country.
We still had like a lot of broken glass, dirty glass we couldn't use for like final products. So we ended up mixing it with cement and making a glass terrazzo. Local hotels and resorts turned out to be very excited and interested in these products, especially when made into kind of objects or pieces of furniture. We found out that in Zanzibar, construction sand is imported from Australia, which is insane if you think about it.
The sand of the beach is so round, so when you mix that with cement, it's just not strong enough. We were able to use the broken piece of glasses to make it almost as the consistency of sand. And then when we mix it with the concrete, the brick actually turned out 100 times stronger than the bricks that they would make locally.
And with the brick you could actually build houses. The local crew developed this and last year they built their first house.
When we finished the project in Zanzibar, we said like, why don't we start to produce the products that we're making in Zanzibar from waste that we collect from local bars and restaurants here from the Netherlands.
We thought glass could be a vehicle to create social impact along the production process.
So we kind of like want to set up like a social workshop, where we can hire people or dropouts or homeless people to provide job opportunities for them. Eventually, we also want to share this whole process open source. Countries where glass waste is an issue can also find local solutions for that, so that everybody can benefit from this. In an ideal world, I think there will be no waste. There will be just like a circular system where we can take materials from nature, but then also like give them back.
We as designers carry the responsibility to think ahead. What we could learn from native communities and also what we saw during our trips is that some communities think ahead 7 generations, which is 200 years. Most of the decisions we make these days, we wouldn't make if we think about coming generations. How are we leaving this planet for the next generations in general? How do we hand it over? What's weird about maybe us as designers in general is that we always try to look for like new solutions with new materials and new applications of certain materials. Well, I think we have all the knowledge we need.
In the past, people saw designers as artists that make new products. Maybe not every designer sees that they're an important part of the solution. We are also capable to change whole systems. This year we celebrate 10 years of Superlocal. We had our ups and downs. It didn't make us rich in our pockets, but I think it really made us rich from the inside. We just get the energy out of the project. And that's kind of like our fuel for life, I guess.
Thanks for watching. If you love watching Never Too Small, you can help us to keep making episodes and creating brand new content by clicking the join button to become one of our YouTube members and part of the NTS family.
Is it? Goed. Proost. Cheers.
Ik ben met de auto bezig.
Nice. Kan je deze ook custom-made?
Die niet, deze wel. Dit is de luchtfilter. Ik ben niet bezig met die buitenkant en dan binnenkant. Maar het is wel veel werk.
Dat is veel werk.